All right, we are moving into the next panel in just a moment. We are getting our panelists in here. I hope you all are enjoying this so far. And all of these panelists that you see are they're my love friends, my friends in love business. We all collaborate, we all talk, we all share stories, we share advice, we share wisdom. And it's it's really I find it very exciting to see that there's differing perspectives. There's no one right or wrong way to do this. So, I just really encourage you in this experience that we have together to really dive in. Thank you for all the questions you've submitted. Keep them coming. If you see the Q&A button at the bottom, whoa, it lit up. We got a lot more questions in the last few minutes. And don't worry about all the links. I see some questions here about all the links. Don't worry about writing down the links. You're going to get an email tomorrow with a replay to this. So if you missed any of the panels, you can always go back. And you can also then click the links for all the gifts. You'll see the pictures of our panelists, and you'll see the description of their gifts. I can't answer any questions from raised hands. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the Q&A. If you have a question or a comment, the chat is not open right now because we have a lot of people here watching live. So we just want you to have a streamlined experience that's not too chaotic, but I will get your question if you put it there in the Q&A. So I'm going to actually invite my first panelist in. We have another panelist who is in our waiting room who will be joining us in a second. But I got to tell you about my first guest. We are recording. We are ready for the next panel. Okay. First of all, y'all, Mike Goldstein is a one-on-one dating and relationship expert. But you've probably seen him on YouTube because he's like kind of a big deal on YouTube. I've been featured on his YouTube channel, but he has so much amazing advice there. He's the founder of Easy Dating Coach, where he helps men and women make relationships easy. And he's been featured on the Today Show, the Star Ledger, Reader's Digest, Shape Magazine. Now, this is what you got to hear, everybody. Mike Goldstein gets 83% of his clients into relationships from online and offline methods. This is an insanely high success rate. So I just want to welcome him in, a dear friend of mine, collaborator, Mike Goldstein of Easy Dating Coach. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, Damona. It's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you too. And while we are waiting for our second panelist, I wanted to introduce you to someone else who Mike knows because Mike and I have collaborated before, but Coach Yogi Marquis is my head of coaching, my VIP coach. And some of you have met him before. Say hello, Yogi Marquis.
Hello, hello. Hey now, Mike.
Hey, Yogi. Nice to see you, buddy.
This is like a Damona Hoffman. This is your life, seeing all of these love experts and people that I really trust and go to for relationship advice come together today. And I'll tell you a little bit about our next panelist who's going to be joining us. And then we'll we're going over the 4 biggest dating myths and the 4 pillars of long-term compatibility tonight, which are all for you in F the Fairy Tale. So my next panelist, let's see, is she here? Jasbina Ahluwalia. There she is. All right. Jasbina is an Indian American attorney turned matchmaker. Crazy that we've had 2 attorney turned matchmakers already, and we're only halfway through the event. But she is also the founder and president of Intersections Match by Jasbina, and that's a premier personalized matchmaking and dating coaching firm for Indian singles in the US, Canada, and UK. I know we have people from all of those countries here with us tonight. She was certified as a matchmaker by the Matchmaking Institute. I just learned tonight that she's a finalist in Oprah's Search for a TV Host. She's been in the New York Times. She's been in Chicago Tribune, the Huffington Post, Washington Post. Now she's here with us. Thank you for being here, Jasbina.
A pleasure to be here, Damona.
Oh my gosh. All my love friends are here together and we are all talking about these 4 dating myths. Okay. So we've gone over the list myth. We've gone over the rules myth. We've gone over the chemistry myth. And now this is the myth that I keep getting asked questions about, that people seem most intrigued about when they read the book. And that is the soulmate myth. The soulmate myth, the way that I look at it is we've been sold a bill of goods, y'all. Like there's such a in rom-coms and fairy tales, we are told that there's one true person out there. And yet I feel like our quest for a soulmate and one perfect person sometimes keeps us single. It keeps us from being able to see the person that's right there in front of us because we're always questioning, I like them. They're a good guy. They're a nice girl, but are they my soulmate? And then it always feels like you're looking for like a needle in a haystack, right? You're trying to find the perfect option, and sometimes you miss a wonderful option that's right in front of you. So I really want to deconstruct this today. There's been a lot of talk about soulmates, twin flames. Are any of you watching the Twin Flames miniseries on Netflix? Anybody seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but you know about, there's like, these people that say, oh, we can tell you just by looking at you, who's your twin flame. Do you believe in soulmates? Let's start there. Mike Goldstein of Easy Dating Coach, do you believe in soulmates?
Well, not really. And let me explain. I'm like a student of John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I interviewed him and he said, I believe every person has about 300,000 matches that would work for them. And so I was like, all right, that seems reasonable. So that's kind of where I'm at.
That's a 300,000 needles in a haystack. Seems like pretty good odds. What do you think, Jasbina? Do you believe in soulmates? And I know you come from an East meets West sort of perspective, and some Eastern cultures have different impressions of what, soulmates or compatibility is. Does that inform your advice for folks listening today?
What I really like to do is meet someone where they are. Okay, so to the extent that someone has certain Eastern beliefs, I really do want to get to know what their particular beliefs are and try to bridge that with sort of the reality of what's out there in that sense. But in terms of soulmates themselves, I do agree with Mike that, it's so limiting to think of one soulmate out there. So really, there are so many. If we think about it also, we as people are not, we're dynamic, right? We're growing, we're evolving. We're not the same person today even that we will be, a month from now. So from that perspective, if there is one perfect person there, are they going to be the perfect person next week or what have you? So I think it's really limiting to think of just one person as your like one soulmate. And I like to think more expansively and more that, we can be the people that can attract many different people. It doesn't have to be just one prototype soulmate.
Yeah, I like that expansive view. And I feel like it really brings a lot of hope to the process too, because, sometimes we get caught on this idea of like, oh, it was the person and now, it was almost right, but then it wasn't. And now they're in your past and you missed it. You missed the moment. Yogi Marquis, soulmates, what do you think?
I think that there's people that we get along with, but as a whole, when you're trying to build a relationship, something that you're hoping that lasts 20, 30, 40 years ago, like in the future, you're looking for somebody that you can grow with, that you can communicate with, and somebody you have like shared values and a shared perspective in where you want to go. If you're looking for this wild connection that's going to be there, that is the sparks will fly, you'll be excited, but you know what? Both of you guys are going to get older. Both of you guys are going to lose hair or grow in places where you don't want to grow. And the things that allow you to stay together and work together is the way that you guys communicate, the ways that you want to trust and build with each other so that you can actually live that long-term life that you talk about, and not just the sparks that kind of just go out.
Said like someone who was one of my first readers of an early draft of F the Fairy Tale, and who has been coaching with me for what, 2.5 years now. So agreed. It's really much more about those goals and those values, and you can kind of make anyone into your soulmate if you're willing to step into that experience. Just going through the questions here and the comments in the chat. Anonymous attendee says twin flames is a hot mess. It sure is. Like, Google how to know if you're in a cult and then watch twin flames. But also Colleen says hello, Yogi Marquis. And Maggie says, when are you going to trust yourself? There's so many soulmates for each of us. We don't necessarily marry them. I do like this expansive view of soulmates. I just find that most people use the term soulmates to mean my one true only. And actually, when I was writing the book and doing my research, I, as OkCupid's official dating coach, I have access to all of the matching questions over the last 20 years. OkCupid's actually about to celebrate their 20th anniversary. So I can look back at how attitudes have changed, how people have answered matching questions. And I looked at this one question: is a soulmate worth waiting for? 90% of people said yes. And that honestly socked me in the gut, y'all, because I was like, what are we even waiting for? We're not waiting for anything. We are not waiting for anything. And sometimes that idea of like the perfect soulmate does keep a lot of us in that space of waiting. So I want to get into some questions here from the audience, and some real tangible takeaways that people can leave with tonight. For those of you who have asked, we are going to be giving a recording of all of the panels. So if you missed anything tonight, don't you worry, we got you covered. We'll also link out to the F the Fairy Tale book and pre-order giveaway, which, if you haven't heard, is pretty darn sweet. We've got tickets to the Drew Barrymore show. We've got a $500 travel voucher. We've got a $500 wardrobe and consultation from Democracy Clothing, who provided me with this amazing dress and has wonderful jeans for like all body types. And then also 39 of you will get OkCupid Premium just for buying the book and for giving us your receipt and submitting to the giveaway at damonahoffman.com/giveaway. So let's go into some of these questions, y'all. I want to just like get into the nitty gritty. Mike Goldstein, how do you deal with feeling like you've exhausted the dating pool in your late 30s? This is an anonymous question. I know you work with folks of all ages, and even it's funny because like late 30s, I as among my dating pool of dating coaching clients, that's really on the younger side. But you're already feeling exhausted, like you've exhausted your dating pool in your 30s. What do you say to this person, Mike?
I can relate. I'm in my late 30s, and probably for years I have also felt like, oh, I must have went through every woman. I must have. I've hit all of them. So like I'm out of luck. Like it's never going to happen for me. And you go into this like woe is me and this mindset. And it's like, if we're looking at empirical data, it's just frankly not true. We have not met all the women or all the men. And what, at least for me, what the problem was just mindset. Like I had this very limited window of folks I would date. And, at 26, like I always used to date women that I used my eyes and they were pretty to me. And that's who I dated. That was the number one reason that got me to date. And then around 26, I'm like, hold on, this is a very limiting way to date. I need to change this. And I, in my brain, said, I'm changing this. But even through my mid 30s, I still did a lot of my dating based on, ooh, she's pretty. And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, if I'm going to be with this person for 50 more years, is this going to work for me? Am I getting the people that really endear to me and like I want to go through war with, go through, live with, have conflict with, have conversations with? So then I opened it up and I'm like, yes, obviously I need to be attractive, but now I've got this much bigger pool of dating that I can do. And I had this other belief. I'm like, Damona, and you never heard this, but I'm like, I must date someone who plays sports and has the mindset of like an athlete, like I don't give up and I love working out and nothing can stop me. And I've got discipline. I'm going to go to the gym today. And that's the only people I would date. And then fast forward, I run into Paige, who doesn't work out, who doesn't have this mindset of I must do. And oddly enough, on our first date, I couldn't get enough of her. All I wanted to do was keep talking to her, and I'm smiling ear to ear, and we're having the best conversation ever. And then I go home from the date, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to see her again. And then date 2, date 3, date 4, and we're having an amazing time. And in between the dates, I'm feeling, ooh, this woman's amazing. But then there was a part of me that was feeling really uncomfortable, Damona. I was like, oh, she doesn't work out, and she doesn't have the body type I usually date. But then my brain's like, wait a second, but you're having so much fun and you can't wait to see her and you are attracted to her and all you want to do is kiss her and you haven't yet. And so I kept going. And eventually that subsided where I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. I don't need that. I don't even want that. And her mindset is so freeing to me. Instead of a woman that's just like, oh, you didn't work out today, she gives me permission to skip a day. And she makes me feel safe to share my emotions and be vulnerable. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. This is so expansive. And this is better than anything I've ever experienced. So what I would say is there's still a lot of men. Maybe there's something slowing you down from opening up your sales funnel or your dating funnel to allow the right guy that may actually be the best fit for you. And I've gotten 16 people married at this point, and I'll remember one of them, she was not attracted to her now husband through date 8, but the conversation was 10 out of 10. And finally on date 8, she calls me, she goes, we just kissed. Nick is the sexiest man alive. And is ecstatic. And now they've been married for, I think, 4 or 5 years. So we kind of got to tweak our strategy and look inside ourselves sometimes. But trust me, there's plenty, especially at that age. Like I coach mostly women over 60. In the 30s, there's a much bigger dating pool than the folks in the 60s. And you can get it done. You have to stay at it. You have to be happy, have a right mindset and you'll get it done.
Oh, I love your story. And you also the story that you told about your client too. And I love that you sort of coach her to stay in it, to get to that point. I always say, let curiosity lead. And usually I find by like date 3, you're starting to think about it, but it's amazing that she was curious enough to continue to go 8 dates to get to that point. Marcia here in the chat says, to me, it's all about the kiss. And I know like some people are more intimate at different levels at different places, but I want to go back to Jasbina because there was a really great question in here that I want to present to you as a matchmaker. What do you think about women initiating? Should women initiate contact or encourage men to contact them in early dating? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And let's talk about online first. Okay. So, because online is a place a lot of people meet. So with respect to online, I definitely think it's really important for women to greenlight men by sending an initial reach out, right? I like women to go ahead and, have a profile have pictures that really would filter, attract the kind of people they're trying to attract, right? Putting their real self out there. And then at that point, going ahead and confidently doing a reach out to men that they find. Don't kind of sit around with a profile and picture and just wait for the men to come to you. So I think initiating online with respect to sending a reach out is actually very, very well serving. In terms of out and about, right? I think that a woman can definitely greenlight a guy also by just the way she is, right? When you're offline, don't be with like a group of other women and just kind of there, but rather, right, and be approachable, right? Be looking around, give eye contact, smile. All of these things actually really do encourage the guy. So sort of it's warm over here. Feel free to come over. I didn't realize when I was single what a big deal it was for a guy to approach a woman. And I think a lot of women kind of take it for granted. And I did, right? That, if a guy is confident, they will approach. But, a lot of actually need a little bit of a green light there to go ahead and be willing and vulnerable to go ahead and do that. And I think, when women are looking for partnership, right, helping facilitate that kind of an interaction, I'd say.
I 100% agree with you. And, I started writing dating profiles about 17 years ago. And I have always said women should initiate. I say, you want to be the person doing the choosing. You're not sitting around waiting to get chose. And I really think this is something that has shifted in modern dating, and the dating apps have leveled the playing field, because before we did have to sort of wait for somebody to fill our dance card. We don't have to do that now. Like, we don't need to ask for permission. And I'm sort of waiting for this moment when we're really finally ready to let that go. And of course, Bumble has become very successful with their format of only allowing women to make the first move. But it's something that has really worked for a long time, and it works online and off. I want to ask a very different question though. Yogi Marquis, I'm going to come to you because I think you will have something to say about this question. How important is my physical size for online dating? I'm on the heavy size, and this hurts me, even though I'm terrific. What do you think?
As a person who used to weigh 360 pounds myself, the truth is, you're just looking for one person. There is a person that is out there that will appreciate every curve, nook, cranny, everything about you. And all you have to do is just find that one person, be confident, be okay. It's like the thing that I see that sometimes when folks are they're insecure about their body shape online is they'll have the close-up picture that's just their face. It's like, no, so they're going to find out when you guys go on a date, put everything out there. It's okay, because there's going to be some guy or some lady that says, yes, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I love. This is what I appreciate. So it's like the story that you hear inside of your head is what society says because of magazines and yada, yada, yada. But the truth is, the person that loves you is going to love all of you and everything about you, and just be yourself and allow that magic to happen.
Definitely agree. And I just want to frame this for everyone listening, because there's this feeling that the grass is always greener and everybody else is having more fun. Everybody's at the fun party and I'm sitting over here in the basement with the losers. And it's just not true. Like, this idea in my research for F the fairy tale, I was looking also at, the sex recession and how everyone is having less sex than they were before, of all ages and all places. And sometimes it feels like, especially because dating has become a very sort of singular, siloed process, particularly during the pandemic when we were all isolated, we didn't have that perspective. And we started to compare ourselves to an unrealistic ideal. Yes, there are the people, you know, they're like the Instagram models that are going to get responses from 90% of the people. They're going to get Hail Marys from 90% of the people. They're not responding to 90% of the people. And the research that I looked at in F the Fairy Tale showed that it's actually better to be more specific, both in your dating profile, with your pictures, everything. It's better to be more specific, because those who were polarizing, meaning some people were like, that's my person, and other people were like, oh, never. Those who were polarizing actually had higher rates of dates. We're getting offline, we're moving into relationships, and we're more satisfied with the dating process. So I just want to make sure, you know, you guys understand, we're not, you guys, meaning everyone listening here, all of our viewers and participants here, that we're not just, it's not just platitudes where we're like saying, be confident and be yourself. There's actual data to back this up. So thank you for your answer on that, Yogi Marquis. Another thing that I hear a lot of times on the Dates and Mates podcast is that people have limiting beliefs around age. They think that especially online, all the men want to date someone younger, or, you know, online dating isn't right for someone my age. I hear this also with people, you know, when I'm enrolling for my program. Well, can it work for someone of my age if I'm over 50 or over 60? We have a question here, Mike, from an anonymous attendee. They say, it seems like most dating advice is directed towards younger people, 20s, 30s, maybe 40s. Do you have different advice for older people, age 50s and up? Mike, I know you've written a book for dating ages 50 and up. You're on YouTube talking to people of all ages all the time. What is your dating advice that is directed towards older people? Is it different? And what do you say about all of the dating advice that's directed towards people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s?
I would say you can have a massive competitive advantage when you're dating in your 50s and 60s, which I want to talk about now, that you can have over the 20 and 30-year-olds. So especially, like, I work mostly with 60-year-olds. And what's wonderful about some of the 60-year-olds is they didn't grow up with the internet. And, you know, I did. So if they can get very competent or hire someone who's extremely competent with the internet, they can get a massive competitive advantage online. And what that looks like is messaging a good amount of men. Like, a lot of your peers that you're competing with, if you will, are messaging 2, 4, 5, 6 people. But if you can message, let's say, for example, 50 men, and then let's say 12 give you a response, now you've got 12 date options, and you just select one, you're going to go on good dates. Where everyone else in your age demographic is not doing that. So I would highly suggest, you know, starting to execute that. And to Damona's point, not sitting there and waiting for men to message you, but actually going out there and messaging all these men that you may be interested in. Does that make sense?
100% makes sense. And yeah, some of it is volume, some of it is specificity, but yeah, a lot of it is also knowing that you're not alone and that there are people that are looking for someone just like you. So, man, I could talk to y'all all day, but it's 6 o'clock in West Coast time. So our next panel is going to be starting, but you all have amazing, amazing gifts that are available for everyone who has signed up for the F the Fairy Tale Forum. You all will get an email tomorrow. I feel like I'm repeating myself because I am, because I know people are kind of coming and going, but you'll get access to all the panels. And you'll also get access to all of these gifts that we have over $1,400 in gifts that all the panelists today are giving you for free, just for signing up for the F the Fairy Tale Forum. So Jasbina has How to Connect with a Man on a First Date, 6 Secrets from a Matchmaker. She has such a wonderful perspective, and she has been doing this for a very long time. She's a certified matchmaker. Y'all are going to want to check that out. Thank you for offering that, Jasbina.
My pleasure. It's pulled from countless feedback sessions. So, yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that and for sharing your
Absolutely.
perspective today. And Mike, you have given folks a lovely gift as well. How to get a guy and keep a guy forever. Not just get him, you got to keep, you got to catch him and keep him. So that will be in the replay page that you receive tomorrow. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you, Yogi Marquis. Yogi Marquis is part of my team. And I always love sharing his perspective and having him work with me to create these amazing transformations for folks of all ages, all sizes, all locations, all over the world. So thank you all. And we are going to roll into our next panel in just a second.